Rasheeda Frost and Kirk Frost, a couple once celebrated for their resilience and ability to withstand endless scandals, now find themselves standing at the edge of complete collapse. Their marriage, which once seemed unshakable, is unraveling in ways no one expected. What began as faint whispers has erupted into a storm that has left fans shocked and speechless. This isn't just another reality TV stunt. This time the drama is painfully personal. Late last night, explosive details leaked from a source close to the Frosts, exposing a betrayal far deeper than anyone could have imagined. When the truth reached Rasheeda, emotions spiraled out of control. Accusations flew, tears burned, and the very foundation of their relationship cracked wide open. For years, Rasheeda carried the role of the loyal wife, defending Kirk despite his scandals. But now she is finished with silence, finished with excuses, and finished protecting his image. The truth is out, and it is spreading faster than either of them can contain. With rumors of divorce already in motion, fans are left asking one haunting question. Is this truly the end of Rasheeda and Kirk Frost? Rasheeda sat in silence, her phone clutched tightly in her trembling hands. At first, she thought it was another rumor, another round of gossip that would eventually fade. But as she scrolled through the messages flooding her screen, the truth struck her like a lightning bolt. These weren't harmless texts or playful emojis. This was proof, undeniable, gut-wrenching evidence of an affair that had been happening for months right under her nose. Pictures, recordings, late-night messages, even details of secret meetings. Every piece fit together, forming a reality she could no longer deny. Her stomach twisted as she realized this wasn't just betrayal. This was humiliation on a scale she never thought possible. And the worst part? The other woman wasn't some stranger or faceless fan. She was someone Rasheeda knew, someone she had trusted. The realization made her chest tighten until she could barely breathe. How had she missed the signs? The sudden late-night calls, the unexplained disappearances, the dismissive tone whenever she dared to ask questions. It all made sense now. A wave of nausea rushed over her, but she forced herself to stay strong. Tears threatened to fall, yet she refused to give him that power anymore. She had cried enough for this man, enough for this marriage. Her hands shook as she pressed the call button. The phone rang twice before Kirk's voice answered casually, as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. And Rasheeda's voice, sharp and unyielding, made it clear. This time there would be no escape. The phone rang only twice before Kirk's familiar voice answered, casual and almost careless. "Rasheeda, what's up?" he asked, as if this were just another ordinary evening. But for Rasheeda, nothing about this moment was ordinary. Her grip on the phone tightened, her pulse hammering in her ears. She didn't even bother with small talk. Her voice came out cold and sharp, like a blade slicing through the silence. "We need to talk, now." There was a long pause on the other end, a hesitation that made her blood boil. She could hear him sigh, the weight of her tone clearly not lost on him. "I'm kind of busy right now. Can we—" "No, Kirk," she cut him off without mercy. "This can't wait another second." Another pause, heavier this time than his reluctant answer. "All right. I'll be home in 20. She hung up immediately, her hands shaking, her body trembling with anger and adrenaline. 20 minutes. That was all the time she had to prepare for the storm about to crash down inside her living room. She paced back and forth, replaying every lie, every dismissal, every moment she had ignored her own intuition because she wanted to believe in him. But tonight the mask was gone. Tonight there would be no sweet talk, no excuses, no sweeping the dirt under the rug. Kirk was about to face the truth, and he was about to face her rage. The sound of the front door unlocking jolted her heart. Kirk stepped inside, his expression unreadable, his tone guarded. "What's going on?" he asked, as if he didn't already know. Rasheeda didn't waste a single breath. She held up her phone, the damning evidence glowing on the screen. Her eyes locked on his, unflinching. "You tell me." For a split second, his face didn't change. He tried to stay composed, tried to mask whatever emotion flickered in his eyes. But she caught it. That faint glimmer of guilt. maybe even fear. But none of it mattered. The betrayal had already sliced too deep. Who is she, Kirk? Her voice was steady, but her anger simmered beneath the surface, ready to explode. Kirk dragged a hand across his face, exhaling slowly. "Rasheeda, I don't know what you think you saw." "Don't lie to me," she snapped, her voice rising with each word. "Not this time. I have the messages. I have the pictures. Everything. So don't you dare stand there and insult my intelligence." The room fell silent, thick and suffocating. Kirk's jaw tightened, his eyes shifting away. "It's not what you think," he muttered. Rasheeda let out a bitter laugh, the sound cold and sharp. "Not what I think? What I think is that my husband has been creeping around with someone I know. Someone I trusted. What I think is that you've been lying to me for months. So please enlighten me, Kirk. What exactly am I misunderstanding here?" For once, he had no slick response. His mouth opened, then closed again. Nothing came out. That silence, that emptiness, told her more than any excuse could. Her chest tightened, a cold wave of realization flooding through her. This was it. This was the moment she had been avoiding for years. Her voice dropped, eerie in its calm. "We're done, Kirk." His head snapped up, panic flashing across his face. "Rasheeda, come on. Don't do this. You did this." She cut him off, her tone fierce and unwavering. "You made this choice when you decided our marriage wasn't worth respecting. You made this choice when you betrayed me again." She turned away, her hands trembling as she started toward the staircase. But before she could take another step, his voice stopped her. "There's something you don't know," he said quietly. Her body froze. The words hung in the air like a dark cloud. Slowly, she turned back around, her eyes narrowing. "What?" Kirk hesitated, rubbing a hand over his face, his body tense. "It's complicated." Rasheeda let out a bitter laugh, her fury spilling over. "Complicated? You cheated on me, Kirk. You lied to my face over and over again. What the hell is complicated about that?" He shifted uncomfortably, his jaw tightening. "I never wanted you to find out like this. I was trying to handle things before it got out of control." "Handle things?" she repeated, her voice rising. "Do you even hear yourself? You weren't handling anything. You were living a double life while I was at home thinking we were still fighting for our marriage." Kirk raised his hand slightly, almost pleading. "Just listen to me for a second." "No," she snapped, cutting him off once more. "I'm done listening. The only thing I want from you is the truth." The silence between them stretched, thick with tension. Finally, Kirk spoke, his voice low, hesitant. "It wasn't just an affair. It's more than that." Her stomach twisted, dread creeping through her veins. "More than that? What does that even mean?" Kirk took a deep breath, avoiding her gaze. "She's pregnant." The words slammed into Rasheeda like a physical blow. The air rushed out of her lungs, her knees nearly buckling beneath her. "Pregnant?" she whispered, her voice breaking. He nodded grimly. "I wish I was lying." Her hand shot to the railing for support as her vision blurred. A wave of nausea rolled through her, threatening to pull her under. After everything she had forgiven, after everything she had endured, this was beyond betrayal. Her voice came out hollow, trembling. "How long have you known?" "Just a few weeks," he admitted. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. "A few weeks? So you've been walking around like nothing's wrong? Letting me believe we were still working on us while you've been hiding this?" He didn't answer. His silence was louder than any confession. Her fists clenched at her sides, rage burning through her veins. "Who is she?" Kirk hesitated, and that hesitation alone made her heart pound harder. She demanded again, her voice like a knife. "Who is she?" Finally, he said the name that made her blood run cold. "Jasmine." The room spun. She gripped the railing tighter to steady herself. Jasmine. The same woman from years ago? The woman Kirk had already betrayed her with once before. The woman who had given him a child. A scandal Rasheeda had somehow managed to forgive for the sake of her family. She had welcomed that child into her home, had put her own pain aside to make sure he never felt abandoned. And now, Kirk had gone back to her. Her rage boiled over, white-hot and uncontrollable. She stepped forward, trembling with fury. "You're telling me you went back to Jasmine? After everything? After all the pain you put me through?" Kirk looked ashamed, but shame meant nothing now. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he muttered. "That was it." The final straw? Rasheeda lunged at him, shoving him hard enough to make him stumble back. "You didn't mean for it to happen? Don't you dare feed me that garbage. You made a choice. A choice to betray me again. A choice to disrespect me and this marriage again. And now she's pregnant? What am I supposed to do with that, Kirk? Smile and pretend it's fine?" He rubbed his face, exhaling sharply. "I don't expect you to understand." "Oh, I understand," she spat, her laugh humorless. "I understand you're a liar. I understand you're a cheater. I understand that no matter how many chances I give you, you'll always find a way to ruin everything. And I understand this. This is the end." Kirk's face twisted, desperation flickering in his eyes. "Rasheeda, please," but she was already shaking her head, her resolve like steel. "No, I'm done, Kirk. For real this time." She stormed toward the door, her phone already in hand. He followed quickly, his voice cracking. "Where are you going?" She didn't even look back. "To tell the world exactly who you are." With one press, she hit record. The sound of the door slamming behind her echoed through the house, but it didn't bring her peace. Instead, the silence that followed pressed down on her like a heavy weight. She stumbled to the couch, collapsing into it, her face buried in her hands. The betrayal, the lies, the humiliation, it all crashed down on her at once. She had defended him when no one else would, had forgiven him for things most women would never endure. And for what? To be disrespected all over again. Her phone buzzed on the table, snapping her from her spiral. The screen lit up with a message from an unknown number. Her breath caught as she read it. "I think we need to talk. It's about Kirk." Her fingers shook as she typed back, "Who is this?" Seconds later, another reply. "Meet me at Café Royale in an hour. You deserve to know the whole truth." Rasheeda hesitated, torn between exhaustion and fury. But something about the message felt urgent, almost like a warning. Taking a deep breath, she grabbed her keys. Whatever truth remained, she was going to face it. Whatever truth remained, she was going to face it. The streets blurred past as Rasheeda drove in silence, her knuckles white against the steering wheel. The city lights flickered like distant stars, mocking her with their calm glow while her world crumbled into chaos. Café Royale came into view, a place she had visited countless times for business meetings and casual lunches. But tonight, it felt different. Tonight, it was a stage for answers she wasn't sure she wanted. She parked and sat in the car for a long moment, her breath shallow. Every part of her screamed to turn around, to run from more pain. But she couldn't, not now. She pushed open the door, the cool night air brushing against her skin, and walked toward the cafe entrance. Inside, the aroma of coffee and baked pastries should have been comforting, but instead it made her stomach churn. In the far corner sat a woman with long dark hair pulled into a neat bun. She raised her hand slightly when she saw Rasheeda, signaling her over. Rasheeda's chest tightened as she approached. The woman looked nervous, her fingers tapping against the side of her cup. "Thank you for coming," the woman said softly, her voice carrying both urgency and hesitation. Rasheeda slid into the chair opposite her, eyes sharp, guarded. "Who are you?" The woman leaned forward, her eyes glistening with something between regret and fear. "My name is Tasha. I know Jasmine." The mention of that name made Rasheeda's blood pressure spike, her jaw clenched, her hands curling into fists beneath the table. "Then you already know what I think of her," she said coldly. Tasha nodded, swallowing hard. "I don't blame you, but I didn't ask you here to defend her. I asked you here because there's more going on than you realize. Things Kirk hasn't told you. Things Jasmine hasn't told you either." Rasheeda leaned back slightly, her eyes narrowing. "Then you better start talking." Tasha exhaled shakily, glancing around the cafe as if afraid of being overheard. Kirk and Jasmine's affair. It's not new. It didn't just start a few months ago. It's been going on longer than you think. Rasheeda felt her chest tighten. anger and disgust rolling through her. "How much longer?" Tasha hesitated before answering. "Almost 2 years." The words sliced through Rasheeda like glass. 2 years. 2 years of lies. 2 years of deception while she had stood by his side, defending him publicly, loving him privately, holding a family together that was already crumbling. Her voice shook as she spoke. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because Jasmine isn't just pregnant," Tasha said, her eyes locking onto Rasheeda's. "She's not sure the baby is Kirk's." Rasheeda froze, the noise of the cafe fading into nothing. "What?" Tasha nodded slowly. "She's been seeing someone else too. Another man. And now there's a chance this child isn't even Kirk's." Rasheeda pressed her palm against her forehead, struggling to process the avalanche of betrayal. Not only had Kirk cheated again, but he might have blown up their marriage for a baby that wasn't even his. Her voice was faint, but sharp. "Why would Jasmine keep this from him?" Tasha leaned in, lowering her tone. "Because the scandal is leverage. She knows Kirk will do anything to keep his family from exploding publicly. She's using this pregnancy as power, over him, over you, over everyone." The realization hit Rasheeda like another knife to the chest. Jasmine wasn't just reckless. She was strategic. She was playing a dangerous game, and Kirk was willingly tangled in it. Rasheeda's body trembled, her heart pounding violently. She stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. "I need to go." Tasha reached out, desperation in her eyes. "Please, just be careful. Jasmine isn't the only one hiding something. Kirk, he's deeper in this than you know." Those final words echoed in Rasheeda's mind as she stormed out of the cafe into the cold night air. Every breath felt heavier, every step more suffocating. Her world wasn't just collapsing because of betrayal. It was collapsing because everyone around her seemed to be playing their own game of manipulation. As she slid back into her car, her reflection in the rearview mirror startled her. She didn't look like herself anymore. Her eyes were red, her face pale, her expression hardened. This wasn't the Rasheeda who smiled for cameras, who defended her husband against the world. This was a woman betrayed, cornered, and finally ready for war. She gripped the steering wheel, her resolve sharpening with every beat of her heart. Kirk thought he could control the narrative. Jasmine thought she could manipulate the future. But Rasheeda was done being anyone's pawn. Tonight, the truth had set her free in the most brutal way possible. And now, she was ready to burn down every lie that had ever been told to her. The sun had barely risen, but the storm had already erupted. Rasheeda sat at her vanity, the glow of her phone screen casting sharp shadows across her tired face. Her hands no longer shook. Her tears had dried hours ago. What remained was a steady, unbreakable resolve. She opened Instagram, pressed the Go Live button, and stared straight into the lens. Her voice was steady, calm, but each word carried the weight of 1,000 heartbreaks. "For years I have defended my marriage. I have stood by Kirk when no one else would. I forgave mistakes that should have ended us the first time. But today I'm done hiding. I'm done protecting an image that doesn't exist. And I'm done being disrespected." The comments exploded instantly. Heart emojis, shocked faces, endless strings of question marks. Thousands of viewers tuned in within minutes, their curiosity pulling them into the center of her storm. She continued, her tone unflinching. "The truth is simple. My husband has betrayed me again. Not only has he betrayed me, but he's done so with the same woman who nearly destroyed us years ago. And now, there's a pregnancy involved. A pregnancy that may not even be his." The reaction was instant and feral. Comments poured in. Anger, disbelief, heartbreak, support. Fans who had idolized the Frosts as proof that love could survive anything were suddenly faced with a darker reality. "Leave him, Queen. You deserve better. Expose everything." The flood of voices became a tidal wave Rasheeda could feel through the screen. Within an hour, blogs had already clipped the live stream, headlines plastering every gossip site. Rasheeda Frost breaks silence on Kirk's affair. The story was everywhere. Twitter trended with hashtags demanding her freedom, Instagram filled with reels dissecting every second of her words, and YouTube flooded with commentary videos. Meanwhile, Kirk remained silent. But his silence spoke louder than any statement. Brands began pulling away, endorsement deals stalled, and his image as a once respected figure of loyalty and perseverance shattered overnight. Fans weren't just disappointed, they were furious. Furious at the betrayal, furious at the humiliation, furious that the same cycle had repeated again. And Jasmine? She responded too. A cryptic post went up on her page just hours later. A picture of her hand resting over her stomach, captioned only with the words, "A queen always wins!" The internet exploded again, half of it calling her bold, the other half dragging her for destroying another woman's marriage. But for Rasheeda, it didn't matter anymore. Jasmine could play her games. Kirk could drown in his silence. She was finished. Later that night, sitting in her quiet home with the lights dimmed, Rasheeda reflected on the whirlwind of the last 24 hours. Everything she had built, everything she had fought to protect, now lay in pieces. But strangely, she didn't feel weak. She didn't feel broken. For the first time in years, she felt free. Her phone buzzed again. Another news outlet wanted her comment. Another blogger wanted an interview. Another producer wanted her reaction for the next episode. She set the phone down without answering. For once, she didn't owe the world an explanation. She only owed herself the truth. She whispered softly, more to herself than anyone else. "This isn't the end of my story. This is the beginning of a new one." And with that, Rasheeda stood, her reflection in the mirror no longer the face of a woman betrayed, but of a woman reborn. The fallout was far from over. The public chaos would rage on for weeks, maybe months. But one thing was certain. Rasheeda Frost was no longer playing the role of the quiet, loyal wife. She was stepping into her own power, and the world would never look at her the same way again.